is a tiny country with a big footballing tradition. The first ever World Cup are being completed. You join us as the national anthems and the formalities are being completed before the start of this crucial World Cup qualifier. Qualifying group, but Peru have had a terrible time. They've not got a point to show for their 3 games, and Uruguay, with all the rich tradition of their football, should go through. Winners of this World Cup qualifier. Peru have had a terrible time. They've not got a point to show for their 3 games, and Uruguay, with all the rich tradition of their football, should go through. But they've had to make 2 changes. Perdomo and Bengochea in place of Francescoli, who we understand has been recalled by his club Marseille, even though countries in World Cup games should have the right of first choice. But nevertheless, it's a very formidable Uruguayan outfit, and
they are becoming a... Got Ruben Paz in midfield, who's a super playmaker.
No, this particular generation of players like the red stripe on the white. The referee and the linesman come from Brazil. Jose, Italian.
A shame really that who obviously is part of their attacking plan. But they got Ruben Paz in midfield, who's a super playmaker. I mean, one of the...
10 years, Quiroga and Munyante and Oblitas. Brazil, Jose Roberto Wright.
One time he used to play virtually stuck on the left wing. Now he plays up front with Alzamendi. They play without a centre forward. He has virtually the left side of the field.
10 years ago, the goalkeeper Quiroga and Munyante and who adorned the World Cup in 1978. What we always know is those distinctive shirts with the red stripe on the white. The referee and the linesman come from Brazil. Jose Roberto Wright is the man in charge. Number 11 for Uruguay, Ruben. He's really one of the Italian-based Uruguayan players, and what a formidable talent he is these days. He's really matured, and it's amazing, Don, to think that they left him out of the '86 World Cup squad.
Yeah, well, that's right. I suppose, obviously, he's got better. They give him a lot of freedom now, whereas at one time he used to play virtually stuck on the left wing. Now he plays up front with Alzamendi. They play without a centre forward. He has virtually the left side of the field to run, and obviously he can run in, and if he sometimes he can run in to out. So obviously he's got more freedom, and he's got Ruben Paz behind him, and they're understanding.
They've beaten Peru already in the away game by 2-0. Ruben Sosa got one of those 2 goals. Alzamendi got the other. It took them a good half an hour, Don, didn't it?
Yes, it did, yeah, but they had to work hard. The Bolivians were not a bad side, and they had to work hard for that first goal. But
get into it and to get the business done here tonight. They Peru already in the away game by 2-0. Ruben Sosa got one of those 2 goals. Alzamendi got the other, and they've been able to progress with a side that's had very few changes. Would be their first choice lineup. I just wonder whether that might mean that they'll take a little longer to settle to the rhythm. Against Bolivia a week ago,
to be honest, Francis. Yes, it did, yeah, but they had to work hard. The Bolivians were not a bad side, and they had to work hard for that first goal. But the thing about it is that they kept the work rate up. Like you were just saying there, will they miss Francescoli? Will they miss Perdomo? To be honest, Francescoli hasn't been as effective as his reputation would lead you to believe. In fact, he only started to play really last week in the second half. Perdomo is very important in midfield because he sits in front of the back four. He's the anchor man in... It will be interesting to see if Korea can do that job for him.
So Peru are playing really for their pride, and they have been making the right sort of noises here, that they've come to give a committed professional performance and make Uruguay battle all the way. Eduardo Pereira, 35 years old now, who plays his football in Argentina.
Very adventurous against Bolivia. I mean, he was sweeping up behind his back four, but I mean, he was virtually getting out sometimes into the middle of his own half.
Alzamendi. Well, they forced him wide.
I think the question here, Martin, is the attitude of the Peruvians, because they can't qualify. Even if they win, they can't qualify.
Herrera with a long throw, and Uruguay almost smuggling the ball through some massed ranks then.
I mean, the Peruvian team is really going through a very...
Ruben Paz, who's wearing whistle had gone. There was a foul on Ruben Sosa, and it's going to be Ruben Paz, who's wearing number 9, to take this free kick and try and get Uruguay the early goal that their fans are craving for here. A country with a population of less than 3 million, and it's to compete at the very highest level. Although, of course, in the last World Cup in Mexico...
I mean, we've got 13 First Division teams, that's all. And like you say, there's only 3 million people in the country. It really is fantastic.
Alzamendi then with the corner. And well, the goalkeeper found another corner on...
World-class players. I mean, they've got 13 First Division teams, that's all. And like you say, there's only 3 million people in the country. It really is fantastic.
Alzamendi, the keeper, found it a little too deep for his liking, and it's going to be another corner on the other side. Purizaga was backpedaling, and the longer Aza wearing number 8, goalkeeper's the goal midfield. But it bent in this time into the goalkeeper's grasp. And the longer that Peru can keep this level pegging, the more pressure they might put on Uruguay. Let me just remind you again that a draw for Uruguay is not enough. They have 4 points, Bolivia have 6, but Uruguay do have the superior goal difference, so any sort of victory for them will be sufficient. But all respect to Bolivia, who have worked very hard and clearly made progress.
A back who is a good... he's looking to break, he's looking to get forward all the time. They get Ruben Paz playing kind of...
I don't think the country is fast enough.
Yeah, well, the old story, somebody has to pay. If any team at any level doesn't do the job, the manager has to pay. Team. They've got Dominguez at left back, who is a good... he's looking to break, he's looking to get forward all the time. They get Ruben Paz playing kind of left midfield, playmaker. Left side of the Uruguayan team is... they are top-class players, and they can create things and they can make chances. And more times than not, it's Alzamendi who gets on the end of their work.
then. The Peruvian player Gonzalez, who was fouled then, was their scorer in their last game when they were beaten at home by Bolivia. It signalled the end of the reign of Pepe, who I don't think Don could get out of the country fast enough.
Yeah, well, the old story, somebody has to pay. If any team at any level doesn't do the job, the manager has to pay. After the Bolivian game, he had to have a police escort to get off the field. It's a shame, because you can bet the man was working hard. It'll be interesting to see what the new man creates.
Altamendi working hard for Europe. Peru, Percy Rojas. And it's not a bad time to take over, really, because he's got nothing to lose here. Everyone expects Peru to be beaten, and it's just a question of when the goals come.
5 years, can't qualify for the World Cup now in Italy next year. Obviously, the targets were in the USA in 4 years' time, in 1994. They're virtually giving him 5 years. I mean, they can't qualify for the World Cup now in Italy next year.
Well, the feet were raised then, and
in the US in 4 years, 1994, and the second time to bend a team together.
Well, the feet were raised then. Some angry reaction against the long-haired Del Solar. It was dangerous play, and Hugo de Leon, the Uruguayan captain in this game, wearing number 3, possibly to be involved at the free kick with Bengoechea. And trying to get it in round the back there for Ostolaza.
The Uruguayans have opened out very similar to how they played it, how they started against Bolivia. They never hesitated to get a ball in the box. I mean, any kind of attack they made down the flanks, the ball was crossed into the box, and they kept the pressure on the Bolivian defence, as they are keeping the pressure on the Peruvian defence.
It's an interesting point, Don, because traditionally the Uruguayans have liked a short passing game, but certainly in these qualifying matches they've been prepared to mix that up a little bit.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I don't know whether it's worldwide television, I think, is that the Bolivians had a very European style. It was all closing down. If you didn't know what the teams were, you'd have thought it was a European team, because the pressurising and the closing down was going all the time. And like you say, in South America, you expect to see a short passing game, a lot of 1-2s round the box. But it didn't happen that way last week. I mean, they will do that, don't get me wrong. But in this opening kind of 20 minutes, it's get the ball into the box.
Yes. For Peru, what an upset it would be if would wonder how Uruguay might react in those circumstances. They weren't too impressed with Gonzalez coming in there on the goalkeeper, and it wasn't a bone-jarring challenge. Maybe they spotted a look in his eyes, but it is the South American temperament.
He left an elbow there, Martin, I think, because he went through.
That in the history of England playing international games, only 4 players have ever been sent off. They sell their souls in that respect. It's often 4 a game. Ten minutes gone. If anyone can make the breakthrough with a bit of magic in the opposing penalty area, it's the Uruguayan number 11.
I thought he should have took his shot there. You know, they got him through, they got him just on their left-hand side.
It's an extra touch, can be a little bit of...
I don't think there's any problem about the Uruguayans looking after themselves, though, Martin. Their reputation tells us that. When it comes to a little bit of rough stuff, they can hold their own with the best of people.
This is Herrera, the right back. Now Ruben Sosa, if anyone can make the breakthrough with a bit of magic in the opposing penalty area, it's the Uruguayan number 11.
thought he should have took his shot there. You know, they got him through, they got him just on the left-hand side of the box. He was on his left foot, and for some unknown reason, he came inside to get so-called get a better chance. There's a chance again, look there, he could have got that shot in. Took it in on his right foot, which is not his best foot, and got blocked.
As a coach, John, I suppose you do worry if players start changing their habits. An extra touch can be a little bit of overconfidence, maybe.
Well, I mean, you're trying to teach players to get the shot in as soon as they can. You know, if it's there to get a shot in, take it. You know, don't have another.
Free kick to Peru. Sansine was fouled. And it's a little untidy in this opening 12 minutes. They're giving a reasonable account of themselves. Certainly looking as though they've come here as they promised, to be competitive and combative. I can remember 11 years ago commentated post a couple of in Mario on a famous night when Peru met Argentina, who had to win by 4 to get in the World Cup final itself. Peru started that game well enough, they hit the post. They lost by 6, and there have been questions asked about their attitude on that particular night, even recently.
Well, they can be like a lot of continental teams. They can be, well, it's goal be going, but it's when the opponents score, then 1 or 2 players drop their heads, and they don't play like they can play. I mean, they've got a good World Cup tradition, Peru. I mean, they have presented the world with some lovely football over the years. I mean, in Mexico in 1970, absolutely a super team.
But they're going through hard times in their domestic football as well as their international game. But at the moment, the chosen 11 here have a lot of variety to their football. And it's a case of them now trying to work out the problems that are being presented and maybe find a decent crossing position on the right then, which eluded them. Iranio playing up front with the Uruguay players. A determined tackle by Herrera. But Tabares, the Uruguayan coach, has been able to keep his side basically in the same shape throughout the qualifying games. Of course, Uruguay coming into this with a reasonable performance in the Copa America, the South American Championships, when they were just pipped by Brazil. In a final game where, by their own admission, they didn't play as well as they played earlier in the tournament. Very disappointed about that, and the World Cup is one way to try and make amends. Not just one way, the way. Dominguez covering. De Leon taking. De Leon ball, and he's tried to take the free kick before the ball was stationary as well. Fantastic record in club football, Hugo De Leon. 3 times in sides that have won the World Club Championship. We've had 15 minutes, and Peru are standing their corner. That's neatly done. And it would send Bolivia to Italy. Brazil.
When Big Del Solar gets on the board, he kind of plays left midfield. It's a little bit like
Dominguez, who throws long. In the game.
And
cause a upset in world football, and it would send Bolivia to Italy.
When
Brazil.
Big Del Solar gets on the board, he kind of plays a bit like Glenn Hoddle. He gets all of it, and he can play, and he can make things happen for them if they get the ball to him.
He's certainly been one of the few successes in a much-changed team. Ruben Sosa returning the ball in a hurry to Dominguez, who throws long. And it's going to be a difficult match for the referee, but Jose Roberto Wright is an official of vast experience. And he's a good choice for a match of this importance. Ruben Sosa's pass. Alzamendi's waiting in the centre. But Ruben Paz, who drifted right that time, couldn't supply the cross. Paz, who plays for Genoa in Italy, Ruben Sosa for Lazio, and Gutierrez, wearing number 2 for Uruguay tonight, is a much better living at the end of last. Bengoechea operates in Spain. So many of the South American stars earning a much better living in Europe these days.
Well, here again, it's a part of the world that the world's becoming smaller now, and obviously with television as well, getting into all the countries, and we're seeing all kinds of football. Is that, you know, it's the start of the future, really. Is that players will be moving from country to country and continent to continent. It's a mixture of approach to the game.
Correa's ball forward, as long as we don't all start playing the same, Tom.
Well, I suppose, you know, if you could go perhaps 25 years ahead, that could happen.
So Uruguay have a free kick here. What have they developed in their training routines?
Their country's kind of approach. I suppose it could be, yeah, that we do develop and do all the same things.
So Uruguay have a free kick here. What have they developed in their training routines? They weren't over-successful from set plays a week ago against Bolivia. Maybe that's been a cause for...
They didn't seem to have an expert, a free kick expert. Francis Coley took a couple.
It's Paz, and they're offside. Just to develop that theme we were talking about, Don, of course, there will always be climatic differences, there'll always be physiological differences, and that will lead to
I tell you something about what I think about the style of football. I think the style of football, in some ways, is affected by the crowds, and the crowds demanding a certain type of football. You know, I can't ever imagine in Brazil the crowds, for instance, play the game. You know, they like it direct. Ball's got to go forward, it's got to go in the box. In South America, it is the slow, quick, slow, especially out of Brazil and Argentina and places like that. And they love the individual dribbling, which we've run out of a little bit.
De Leon plays the free kick wide, coming up to the 20-minute mark. Uruguay looking to... with a header from Paz towards Ruben Sosa. Actually, here in Montevideo, they believe that the short passing game originally came from Scotland with Scottish migrant workers.
Yes.
Back at the turn of the century, and that was, of course, the way the game was originally developed.
I think the British people have introduced football in lots of countries of style. But as time's developed, they've developed their customers. And They do it their way. And like you say, it would be a shame if they was to lose that. The contrast of styles is lovely to see. It makes the game more enjoyable.
Well, the enjoyment here for Alzamendi. Another frustration, that nil. But patience must be part of their game plan. And 90 minutes is a very long time to defend. Alzamendi. Another of the great wanderers from Uruguay. Alzamendi has played in Europe. He's attached to a Spanish club now, Logroñés. Had a spell in France, played in Argentina. And he's still scoring goals in international football at the age of 33. Correa leaving the throw. Came off Ostolaza.
Without a doubt, the Peruvians are not going to give it the Uruguayans as easy as that. I mean, they're getting the tackles in.
But if the frustration is being from the terraces, go on the field a little as well. Peru's policy is clearly based on mass defence.
Uruguayans as easy as that. I mean, they're getting the tackles in.
And there's some pushing in there by Ostolaza. It was Ostolaza in the way against Bolivia with a marvellous pass from wide on the right to the number 11 there, Ruben Sosa, who went on to get the opening goal at a point in the game a week ago, which is quite similar to what
this week are using kind of a zonal defence, but with a sweeper in the back of them.
And it was a system that was looking vulnerable then, as Alzamendi read the clip ball in by Correa, which was very much Perdomo style.
That's but with he makes those runs.
Vulnerable then, Alzamendi read the clip ball in Correa, much Perdomo style.
That's right. When Alzamendi makes those runs, because he is a centre forward really, he plays from the right coming in. He makes runs from the right flank into the box, and when he's making those runs and he times them well, he's very finish.
And Ruben Sosa doing likewise from the left, with the space there because Uruguayan striker to drag the markers into the middle. There is Ostolaza trying that pass from wide on the right, but it was by no means successful. And Peru showing no sympathy, wanted to take a free kick quickly.
Well, Mr. Wright's having no messing, is he? He won't let the trainers come on. I think he thinks, you know, it's not a bad injury. And it's good, especially here in South America. I mean, they've got to. You need a good referee. It has discipline, so the players know they can't play out. They can't get away with anything.
Here's Herrera to Correa. Ruben Sosa working well away from the danger area at the moment, but Peru contributing to their own problems. And I think it has gone behind for the corner. With 20 minutes remaining in the first half, Alzamendi jogs across to take it.
Well, this must be about the sixth.
Alzamendi trying to improve this time. The big Gutierrez is in the centre. The goalkeeper stays on his line. Touched back by Gutierrez towards Correa. It didn't quite come off. Retrieved by Bengochea. Needs a good ball in this time. Alzamendi and retrieved by Bengochea. Alzamendi and Bengochea getting into a tangle there.
Well, the crossing itself was a good cross to the back post, and there was two players queuing up to deal with it.
losing out. And Peru showing a little bit of pace in their forward running that might punish any lapse of concentration. It was only the merest moment of danger for Uruguay. Ostalaza. Here's Paz. Dominguez going outside him. Ruben Sosa was through the centre. But there's a good place to get a tackle in and win the ball back, which is part of Correa's job in that anchoring role in midfield. He's the number 5, deputising for the suspended Perdomo. And it almost came for Paz. Surely he was offside.
Yes, he looked offside. Yeah, the Uruguayans are squeezing up well. I mean, they are keeping the play in the Peruvians' half. As the back four squeezing up to the halfway line and virtually getting the... And obviously get these regained possessions all the time.
But still the final ball is elusive for Uruguay.
That's right, Martin. I mean, to be honest, I'm disappointed in the final ball. I don't know whether they're getting a little bit kind of trying to play it in there too quickly, you know, not having the composure to knock it in there right.
The header from Benko Jaya. And I think wherever viewers are watching around the world, they're getting a run for their money, Don, because it could quite easily have been an early goal here, and I think Peru would have folded had that happened. But here we are coming towards the half-hour mark.
Well, they're...
Sancine, left back. Sancine. Well, they're trying to find the tall Gonzalez as a...
Yeah, they did this last time. They just leave Gonzalez up there by himself. And to be honest, he's not a very good player. He's not a bad finisher, but he's not good at holding the ball up. He hasn't got good pace to exploit it. You feel as though if they had someone to support him quite quickly, you know, they could get something out of these breaks.
It's a match played in the mind as well as with the feet. De Leon with that didn't come off for Uruguay. This is Herrera. Off the ball after it had run on through there. An obstruction on Herrera. And it's a free kick now to Uruguay, in a most threatening position as they look to find the back of the Peruvian net.
Well, I notice Ruben Paz is over there, and it is a kick on the right-hand side of the box. And if you're left-footed, obviously you can put that ball over the wall and bend it away into that near-post area. It would be interesting to see if Ruben Paz can do it. Now, that's him picking the ball up.
Well, two things there, Don. It did look quite a theatrical fall when we looked at the replay, and then while we were studying that, the yellow card was out, I think, to the number 6, Carranza.
Yeah.
Right on the half-hour mark.
It's just a little bit wide for a passer shot, you know, it's just virtually on the corner of the 18-yard box.
Well, possibly it was Del Solar who got the caution. Paz takes it. And the header from Ostalaza and the follow-up. What an amazing scramble. It's a corner, I think, at the end of it. And the goalkeeper, Purizaga.
Two terrific reaction saves, because that's all it was. And all he did is get his hands, get a body to it, his hands to it, and knock it out. And he's very brave on the end of it.
There was the first header, then the controlled volley. Alzamendi was moving in really for the kill then as the goalkeeper parried it. But what heroics by Jesus put his... And the referee was concerned in case there was possibly damage to the goalkeeper's head then. This time he did let... And you could say the same about the goalkeeper, who punches well, and there's a break on here for Peru. Iranio and... Yeah.
You would expect a good goalkeeper to get all of it.
And the referee was concerned in case there was possibly damage to the goalkeeper's head then. This time he did let the trainers come straight on. Now, Uruguay with their tails up. And you could say the same about the goalkeeper, who punches well, and there's a break on here for Peru. Iranio and Yanez were leading the charge out, and there's a punch there. And this Brazilian referee is going to produce a card, and it might well be a red one. It is. He provoked it by the slap to the face. Now, will Benkochair get away scot-free from that?
Oh, and the best right hook I've seen for a while. I mean, a silly thing to do.
Well, this was the incident. Benkochair fouled, and the whistle had gone, and then he provoked it by the slap to the face. Now, will Benkochair get away scot-free from that? In truth, footballers don't throw many out-and-out knuckle punches. It's
no, it's like you say, it was just a kind of a right-handed slap.
But it's there, and it was a cuff round the ear, but
yes.
The retaliator is the one who has a controversial incident.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit silly, really, because the referee had given them a foul. He gave the Peruvians a foul. It was just a silly thing to do.
Well, Uruguay might just recall and yet another South American controversial incident.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit silly, really, because the referee had given them a foul. He gave the Peruvians a foul. It was just a silly thing to do.
Well, Uruguay might just recall that they played with 10 men when they lost a player in the first minute of the '86 World Cup finals against Scotland.
Well, that's
got a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
Now, whether Peru can match that and destroy Uruguay's dreams here after Reynoso went off his part in the sending off.
I always think it's very difficult when there's a scrimmage like that for the referee, and it happens all so quickly. You tend to think, well, when the game's over, the
having more disciplinary disarray as Benkochair, who I must say should have at least got a yellow card himself for his part in the sending off.
I always think it's very difficult when there's a scrimmage like that for the referee, and it happens all so quickly. You tend to think, well, when the game's over, the referee ought to look at it and see if there was a lot of play acting going on, and then punish the player in some way, because he can only make a decision for the thing on the spot.
De Leon takes it. Trial done. That's the.
Well, that's right. I agree, but you feel as though there ought to be a just decision for both players.
Well, Uruguay with the man advantage now will be hoping to spread the play. And then we're accused of trial by television, Don. That's the
well,
problem.
that's right. I agree, but you feel as though there ought to be a just decision for both players.
Well, Uruguay with the man advantage now will be hoping to spread the play, to work Peru hard, perhaps get the ball into the corners, stretch the back line, but it's only a man upfield who's been lost, really. It's just, I suppose, something that's going to prey on Peru's minds as well. And they've got to keep Ruben Sosa at bay.
At least on target.
And he knew it.
Nobody marked in Ruben Paz there. Three players.
Well, they're doing that at the corner, and for the first time it's produced an effort on goal, with Alzamendi varying the service this time to drop it in around the near post area.
Yes, that was Ruben Paz. He should have done better because he was free. He should have got at least on target.
And he knew it.
Nobody marked in Ruben Paz there. A little downward glancing at it, could have scored. But like I say, last week they didn't seem to know how to exploit 10 men. You know, they kept 4 at the back.
Crossing way. Del Solar was flat-footed then. And Peru scrambling and battling, trying to scratch out a draw here. It was a difficult night for them before the game started. The adversity is that much greater now. They have to play with tossing possession away. Del Solar was flat-footed then. And Peru scrambling and battling, trying to scratch out a draw here. It was a difficult night for them before the game started. The adversity is that much greater now. They have to play with 10 men for 55 minutes in all. Bengoechea. Alzamendi is right in there, but the strikes at goal from Uruguay have been below top class.
I've got a feeling, Martin, they're uptight. I mean, by now you'd think they'd have settled down, but you know, when you strike at goal, you've got to be a little bit relaxed. You know, you've got to keep your composure. Your contact on the ball's got to be right.
Dominguez with the throw. So here are the free players for Uruguay, as Peru backpedal again. There'll be no change to the pattern here. It'll be Uruguayan pressure, but will it be penetration at the end of it? Hacked away by Requena. And the linesman's flagging. Peru quite orderly, pushed out, and in fact should have got an offside then. They'll get one now. There was no advantage really in letting the game go on when a defensive header fell straight to a Uruguayan.
Peruvian sweeper's doing quite well there. He's bringing them out every now and again. He's not doing it all the time. He's mixing it up. He brought them all out there and left Sosa offside. He's commanding that well.
Five minutes to go to half-time, and again the door is slammed in Uruguay's face, and the referee right on the spot. There's certainly no evidence of hometown officialdom here.
Martin, the referee, having watched these games now over the last kind of 2 months, the referee's been very good. They've been very fit, they've been on the spot. In general, they've made good decisions.
Herrera trying to make the right decision with his pass to Ostolaza. We've got those will only increase if they go into the dressing room at half-time with the job not yet done. Bengoechea can ease the situation if he can make something from this free kick? Or will it be with a good track record of success? But they're, as Don Howe has been saying, they're nervy, and those nerves will only increase if they go into the dressing room at half-time with the job not yet done. Bengoechea can ease the situation if he can make something from this free kick. Or will it be Ruben Paz? It's Paz who takes it. And it might drop for Paz again. Correa. And the goalkeeper, whose handling has not been exemplary, gets away with another fumble.
At least he's there.
He's enjoying himself anyway.
Behind it, yeah. It reminds me of Karuga. He'll start coming out to the halfway line soon.
Well, they're queuing up to have their strikes at goal, Uruguay.
He keeps knocking those balls into the back post to Big Ostolaza, but although he's a big man, he's not a good. He doesn't hit the ball well.
And Ruben Sosa's shot was bundled away in the end by this goalkeeper, who's turning out to be one of the characters of the night here. Uruguay driving on, and it's Purizaga there again. And Peru reviving a few memories of '78 and Ramon Quiroga, was one of the great personalities of that tournament in Argentina. And Peru will be glad to hear the half-time whistle. It's got his angles right, and the mass defence starting to show a few gaps now. Bengoechea, very nearly the first goal for Uruguay. And Peru will be glad to hear the half-time whistle. It's a minute and a half away plus stoppage time.
I think that's the first time that Bengoechea has run into that space. I mean, that's the space. I mean, when you play without a centre forward, you play two men up wide. The space is for midfield players to get into. And Francescoli was very good at using that space, knowing the timing to get into a kind of a centre forward.
Very few alternatives for Del Solar, who's been very composed when he's in possession. Was a player who got the winning goal in the 1987 Copa America when Uruguay beat Chile in another explosive affair. Two players from each side sent off. Peru trying to keep their act together and find a way out. There is very few for Del Solar, who's been very composed when he's in possession. And he made sure Peru didn't give the ball away then, and they've actually made the grass a little bit worn in this half of the field for the first time for a while. You can tell, looking down from a high position, who's been running the show in the first 45 minutes. All the scars at the left-hand end.
They moved out well there, Peru. It was a nice passing movement. It needed a little bit of a forward ball on the end of it, rather than come back and play again.
This is Gutierrez. Just diverted away by Arteaga from Ruben Sosa. Now he's the player who's really on song going into this game. A man from Lazio.
He hasn't sparkled as well as he sparkled against Bolivia, Martin Sosa. You know, they've handled him quite well.
minute of stoppage time played. Bencochea offside, and another little crisis averted for Peru.
Well, obviously they're not going to. The Peruvians are definitely not going to back into that box. I mean, they're holding the edge of the box. The sweeper is given all the instructions, and they'll only go in the box and mark people, obviously, when the ball goes down the flanks. But anything through the middle, they'll play offside.
Might come. Uruguay here. Ruben Sosa has made room for the shot. Oh, and it's gone through the goalkeeper. Well, it's a wheel away of celebration, but also of considerable relief. And the goal coming 2 minutes into stoppage time. It's a fairly unfulfilling role for Gonzalez in a game like this, but the fulfillment might come for Uruguay here. Ruben Sosa has made room for the shot. Oh, and it's gone through the goalkeeper. Well, it's a wheel away of celebration, but also of considerable relief. And the goal coming 2 minutes into stoppage time.
Well, that's the one they wanted, and it was again a nice through ball through the inside left spot. Sosa got on the end of it, worked his way into a good shooting position, but it again, the goalkeeper's just flopped down.
So Ruben Sosa, who has been the architect of goals so regularly.
He was lucky to get his shot in, really, because he did once more. He came inside onto his right foot, but he worked his way back onto his left foot, and then got the shot in.
And for once, Peru didn't have enough cover, couldn't stop the shot, nor could the goalkeeper, who's lived on his nerves and his reflexes for so much of the first half and played a major part in Peru. The 1990 World Cup finals. Their squad, incidentally, is pretty much changed from that which performed in Mexico in 1986. Gutierrez, he was there, and Ruben Paz and Alzamendi, but it's been a side that's been rebuilt. And Don, you've been here before. They're football crazy here, aren't they?
Well, that's right, and I think it's a lot to do with, although they haven't got, the population is small, they produce all these players. It's because football's the only thing they've got. I think most of the kids, as used to be in this country, just play football. I mean, technically they're very good players, and they're strong players as well. I mean, we trained at a school when we were there with England, and all the kids there were absolutely, and they knew all the England players. And you know, as soon as we finished, football went on straight away, and there was, you know, kind of virtually all the school kids there who were having game speeds were all playing football. So you could understand why they were producing these players.
Well, the players have had their break, and they're ready to attack the second half in a position that they should be able to relish and maybe turn on some style. It will be a matter of attitude. The bottom line, as far as Uruguay is concerned, is simply to win the game. 1-0 is enough, but it would be disappointing if at the end of this second half it was still 1-0, because they've got an opportunity against the Peruvian side whose spirit will have been sapped by this man, Ruben Sosa, and that goal so close to the sanctuary of half-time from Peru's viewpoint.
Yeah, it will be interesting, their attitude. I mean, there's two ways they can play it. I mean, they can be positive, the Uruguayans, and say, look, let's work hard, get the second goal and really kill the Peruvians off. Or they can say, well, no, let's play patient, let's knock it about, use the free player that we've got out there, and in time we'll wear them down. If they keep chasing the ball, we'll wear them down and we'll get in that way. There's two ways of approaching this game.
I suppose a third way, Don, would be totally to sit back on what they've got and say, well,
yeah,
Peru aren't going to hurt us with 10 men. Well, we'll just have to see how it develops.
They did that against Bolivia, Martin, last week. At that time they were 2-0 up, mind, and they just sat back, and as I said, the Bolivians at the end of the game in the last kind of 15 minutes. We're down to 9 men. I had 2 players sent off, and yet you didn't see any aggression from the Uruguayans then.
Played infield by Guido. Herrera. The crowd enjoyed that. And their humour through the half-time interval was much more relaxed, and their concern about Peru's ability to keep Uruguay out for the entire game was, of course, wiped away. What would change that, of course, is if Peru, depleted Peru here, could snatch something from a set piece such as this one. Free kick to be taken by Guido. With Gonzalez and Del Solar, the 2 players most likely to attack the ball in the air. And that was something worthy of the Olympic diving pool, I think,
yeah, that was
Gonzalez.
Well, I mean, if they are going to score off a set-piece situation, it's going to have to be direct, because they haven't got the height to go on the end of a cross or the end of a corner. The Peruvians, I mean, they're a very, in stature, small team.
Particularly against such a strong physical side as Uruguay. And Alzamendi trying to fill in behind the ball as it's worked forward by Carranza. So Guido not in a hurry to get the game restarted, and Peru would be happy to see the back of this game now, I would think. And indeed, the back of 1989. They've had a very disappointing time in the Copa America as well as in the World Cup qualifiers. Guido's ball forward, and Iranio will graft and toil up front. He's such a small figure against those tall Uruguayan defenders, one of whom, Gutierrez, decides he fancies some work up front. Alzamendi, though, can't supply the cross from the pass by Gutierrez.
Well, the crowd definitely want that second goal. I mean, you can see they're all alert and sharp. The crowd, they want that second goal.
Herrera trying to supply
between the legs.
Disagreed. The linesman pointed for the corner, and the referee, looking at it from an opposite angle, of course, maybe he had the clearer view. He certainly had the right to make the decision, and it's a goal kick.
It seemed to ricochet between the legs there.
Yanez to Guido, but Correa is Uruguay's midfield. And now Ruben passes away. Well, he waited to try and pick the right ball, having checked onto his trusty left foot. And I feel, Don, we're going to get a few chances in the second half.
Back, and he's picked out someone on the back post who just couldn't arrive in time.
Bencochea,
yeah,
it was arriving, yeah. Foul by Correa. Well, this is another view of Ruben Paz's cross, and it was a ball that he took on the stab, really.
The check back onto his left foot was terrific skill.
Benkoche didn't quite fancy his left foot though, coming in on the other side.
No, but at least he got in before that. When you play without a centre forward, the space through the middle is for midfield players.
Well, they've got plenty of players forward again. Have Uruguay here. And is it going to be a second goal? Well, it didn't fall left or right, really. After Ruben Sosa had got behind them. I think above themselves for the time it was 0-0. But they might revert to type now.
Well, they were defending well. I mean, they were not attacking well, Martin, but they did defend well and come out on the occasional nice passing movement without you ever thinking that they're going to threaten the Peruvian goal.
Well, that was a long ball from Del Solar. And I may be doing them a disservice. Oh, no! It was an open goal. And Uruguay are breathing fairly hefty sighs of relief here. Round the goalkeeper, and it was the outside of the goal. It all happened very quickly.
Well, the shot went in, and they seem to lose concentration. As the shot goes in, the player gets on the end of it. And defender, De Leon, is asking for offside, and yet the player was standing up against him.
So between them, Yanes and Iranio...
It did the goalkeeper, then lost his balance.
Cultivating a gilt-edged chance for Peru, and just as I was saying maybe they were going to perhaps lay down a little bit in this second half, they came back with an extraordinary chance, and I don't know, maybe that'll sap their morale even more, Don. Looking around the field for their goodbye. The ball didn't go into the net.
Well, they know they're not going to make many chances, don't they? So obviously when they get a chance like that, they think, obviously, they're so disappointed that it hasn't gone in, because they know them, if they get another one this off, they'll be very lucky, and especially like that.
It is Iranio who's come off. Well, that could have been goodbye to the World Cup for Uruguay. That's not too dramatic a statement, although there's time, which happened in the second half. There would have been still plenty of time, but it would force the Peruvian resolve. And Benkoche now, with Uruguay having an opportunity to settle things down and restore the status quo and get a second goal. Basalar is wearing number 23. Well, Uruguay and the crowd rather flattened by that let-off. Suddenly reminded them that it's not all sweetness and light yet. One goal is not a cushion that you can really relax upon. Benkoche. But this is a good policy, Don, really, to spread the ball around and pull them about.
Yeah, as long as at the end of it, you know, there's an end product. I mean, like, they've knocked it around there and they've nearly lost it. They've got it back, it's got to go around, but then it's got to be fed forward or fed into the box.
Well, if there is going to be an incisive move, Ruben Paz might be the player to provide it. I wonder how long, given that he's playing against game at 30, he's used somewhat sparingly in the second half.
Yeah, that's right. Normally they've subbed him after about an hour of football. You know, they let him do about 15-20 minutes the second half and then take him off.
Benkoche has been the regular replacement for him, but of course with Francescoli not available, Benkoche was in for the start this time. So Yanes takes the free kick, not successfully. Gonzalez trying to push up on the last man. Del Solar. Touched off by Gonzalez again. He was involved a third time, but maybe they can draw Peru out and hit them on the break as they did when Ruben Sosa galloped through. Ruben Sosa again, and down he goes at half-time. They call him the gold poet in Uruguay, and he's certainly written some pleasing verses in the context of this game.
Well, he really got chopped down there. I mean, he was going to create something for himself, and all of a sudden, the defender come out, kind of from behind the play, and whacked him.
They'll be and the officials of Lazio will be hoping he picks himself up and dusts himself down and gets on with it. There's going to be another chance here. It's two. He's done it again, and he certainly wasn't damaged by the foul moments earlier. And it's a trail of glory for Ruben Sosa in the South American World Cup qualifiers.
Well, the free kick was played short. I mean, there was a man standing on the ball. The free kick's played short inside, and then there's a nice little through ball here from into the box of Sosa, and he takes it well just inside the far post.
Well, when it comes to goal scoring, it's a one-man show for Uruguay.
I mean, most of those free kicks out there, they've been just feeding them into the box and getting nothing out of them. This time they start off short, go infield, and then a nice ball through the inside left spot, and he's took it away.
And that ends any lingering doubts, the doubts that were rekindled by the chance that Peru had. But Ruben Sosa has had his say again, and the left foot does such devastating damage. Well, let it on. If England get drawn, if England qualify, I should say, if they get drawn with Uruguay, you'd certainly be able to prepare them to defend against a very sharp left-sided raider.
I've been seeing Uruguay not only in the World Cup qualifying games but also in the South American Championships.
Hang on a second, sorry to cut you off, but it was very nearly a third for Ostolaza.
Without a doubt, they are becoming a force. I mean, Brazil and also Uruguay, we haven't seen that much of Argentina because they've already qualified. So, you know, they haven't put themselves in. I mean, they didn't do too well in the South American Championships, Argentina. And obviously, the quality of their team is going to depend on what Maradona's doing. But there's no doubt about it in my mind, Uruguay and also Brazil are going to go close in Italy, without a doubt.
Well, Brazil have qualified, Yugoslavia from Europe have qualified, Argentina are there by rights as the holders, the host nation, and right in the name of Uruguay as we start to assemble our 24 for 1990. It's always a wonderful time of anticipation, this, as the qualifying matches come towards their climax. It's another big game as the goalkeeper Purizaga deals with the cross here. Another big game in South America later this evening. And Ecuador play Paraguay in Group 2. Paraguay need to win that to top that group, otherwise it will be Colombia, and then they would play Israel, who ended the dreams of Australia in the Oceania group. Uruguay press on again. Ruben Paz, the goalkeeper, is there.
They're really cutting them open down this left side now. I mean, I don't think the Peruvians know what day it is down there.
And this Paz was very scorer. Sosa was the supplier, and Paz was very nearly the scorer. The two Rubens.
A nice little run here into the near post of the ball. Didn't collect it well, it just ran away from him. The keeper was out of the gun. If he'd collected that tight, he'd have scored.
And that's one of the easier offside decisions for the linesman to make. And all Peru can do now is get fresh legs on where they can to make a second substitution. Manacero for the tiring Yanez. It's like trying to stop a tidal wave with a piece of cardboard at the moment, though.
Yeah.
And Uruguay finding himself, Ruben Sosa finding himself on the right. Herrera is his lieutenant and now generaling the whole attack himself, and he's got plenty of capabilities in an attacking sense. Herrera from Peñarol.
So Sosa's got to go anywhere across the line, mainly left, because obviously he's on his good foot, but he can go anywhere. I mean, obviously when we get to the World Cup, most of the teams will do their homework and they'll say, hey, the Uruguayans, everything down the left, they're a super team, let's shut their left side, the pitch down. But all of a sudden, Sosa will pop up on the right. If he's getting the ball, if he's not getting the ball down there and people are trying to shut him out, he'll pull away and he'll perhaps swap over with Alzamendi.
Well, they've swapped over the corner-taking roles here. It is Alzamendi from the left, and Ostolasa has had a heading hit to hardly one ahead in there.
I think they've aimed every dead ball situation, corners, free kicks, barring the one they got the score off for Ostolasa, and he hasn't headed one properly.
And with
I mean, he looks about 6'6", and yet he still can't jump.
And the other thing about Uruguay is they've got a number of players who play their club football in Italy, so they won't have any problems adjusting. One of them is Ruben Paz. And it ends another hurry and scurry around the Peruvian goal as a goal kick, and I would think they'll still try and waste time even though they're 2 down.
Yes, well, obviously they're up against it, and you know, they'll be waiting to get off the pitch. I suppose if they'd got that goal, if they'd not that goal, then it would have lifted them, and they'd have been thinking a little bit more positive themselves.
Okay, just in a timely fashion soon afterwards, and Uruguay back on song again, and giving plenty of evidence that the remaining 25 minutes might be pretty entertaining. Let's hope they don't settle for the 2-0 long to get the first goal. Instead, just in a timely fashion soon afterwards, and Uruguay back on song again, and giving evidence that the remaining 25 minutes might be pretty entertaining. Let's hope they don't settle for the 2-0. When Paz gives the ball away in his own half, though, the coach might be asking them to do just that.
Yes.
Lazar's now and ahead of goal. He's not marked. It's a one-sided story now. Herrera. Alzamendi. Is it offside? Bengochea didn't deal with the ball instantly, which he had to do if he was going to take the chance. Here's Big Gutierrez. Alzamendi with a lovely turn. Gutierrez with all the freedom he wants from the back.
Well, that was a good chance. I mean, he went to Ostolasa, who put his foot up, and then the ball carried through. and if the Uruguayan had collected it on his first touch, there'd have been a goal-scoring chance.
Well, the openings are coming thick and fast now. Bengoechea, though, will be disappointed with his control.
I don't know whether he meant this kind of flick on Astolazi, but it was nice if he did. Yes, I think he did.
Yes, or he might have been just trying to hook it on for himself.
Yep.
And it fell fortuitously for Bengoechea. Well, before the game, I don't think the bookmakers would have been taking too many bets on this. It looked a sure bet for Uruguay, but the story isn't quite as simple as the scoreline might suggest to those who haven't watched the game. Peru getting a player sent off, having laboured hard for 35 minutes.
Well, they've had a go, the Peruvians. I mean, you wouldn't say that they've come here just to kind of get through the game. We can't get a little bit so. Now they've come in a bit of pride at stake, and they've had a go at it. If Reynoso hadn't got sent off, who knows which way he could have gone.
Del Solar has certainly played with pride. He's got that lovely gentle feel for a football.
Yeah, he's the Glenn Hoddle of Peruvian football.
And here's the Ruben Sosa of Uruguay. Is he going to keep the ball in? Well, he can perform minor miracles, but not the major one that was required then. I can remember seeing him play, Don, for Real Zaragoza in a European Cup winners' tie at an unfashionable venue, Wrexham.
Yes.
And in fact, Real Zaragoza were lucky to get a 2-2 draw against a lower division side from the Football League. But Ruben Sosa shone brightly that night and was, of course, in a game. In fact, a Chilean got 2 goals, Yanez, for Real Zaragoza, and it was a bit of a steal at 2-2 for them. So he's been around for a while, and he's appreciating the success he's now having. He's certainly maintaining his contribution to this game. He's an onlooker at the moment with the ball with Alzamendi and then Herrera. Well, the extra raw when it drops for Ruben Sosa. Alzamendi's won it back. Peru are wobbling again. Ostolaza with the cross. Herrera turning into trouble. There's Correa, the number 5 in that old position again, doing a valuable job for Uruguay because he stopped Peru snapping the ball forward quickly.
I think the thing about Sosa, Martin, is that he's so positive. He goes forward all the time. You know, he's either running without the ball or he's running with the ball, but he goes forward. You know, he's attacking defenders all the time, or he's attacking the space behind defenders all the time. And obviously at the end of it, yeah, at the end of it, he's either getting his own shot in or he's delivering for someone else. He's such a good, positive player.
Well, Gonzalez was the only player hoping to find himself close to the cross for Peru. But Ruben Sosa does it in a relatively poor side in Italy. Lazio play with a very stern defensive system and leave him up there to do this sort of work, so he gets plenty of practice week in, week out.
Oh yeah, and I bet he gets on with it.
And he does a fine job, yes.
Yeah. He wouldn't be saying let's support or give me service, he'd get on with it.
2-0. 20 minutes left. Uruguay on the brink of qualification. Ruben Paz. Cero, one of the two substitutes. Del Solar. And there was just the extra urgency from Uruguay when he got possession. It can only be complacency really that can harm Uruguay's positioning now. Ruben Sosa helping out in his own half. De Leon. Cross from Ostolaza. Then Herrera. And Peru having to chase to get a tackle in again. It's a wearing process when you're 2-0 down. Alzamendi. And again. Changed his mind. There was a ball onto the left and he saw a gap to try and accelerate through into the centre. But he ran into a traffic jam there. De Leon, who's a cult figure in this country.
Actually, when they have to, the Uruguayans, they can defend well. You know, when they're up against a real kind of a good team, as they showed in the South American Championships. I mean, Brazil found it very difficult to get in against them. De Leon.
Beard just makes him look more formidable, Don, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Peru continue to keep their heads up. Playing with 10 men, remember, since 10 minutes before half-time, and at that stage the game was 0-0. Ruben Sosa 2 minutes into stoppage time at the end of the first half, and then just after Peru squandered a gilt-edged opportunity, it was Ruben Sosa again. And Uruguay can freewheel a little in this situation. And this generation of players, following plenty of generations before them, which have served this small South American country so proud in world football. Qualified in 54 and 62 and 66, 70 and 74. And I think we can say quite safely for 1990.
I think we're going to see the best teams from South America in the World Cup, which is only right.
It's unthinkable of a World Cup without Brazil. I suppose the only problem that they had was whether they Chile, but
they've built a great team again, though, Brazil, Martin. They really have. Two super attacking fullbacks.
Well, it was an awkward save for Pereira, and I should think he was glad of the action. From Guido's free kick, the left back, left-footed, and it came as goalkeeper's dislike, bouncing just in front. And the surface, unfortunate hop, and that could bounce over and leave a goalkeeper with egg on his face. Maybe Purizaga was diving for a bounce with the one that went underneath him. Here's De Leon. But as lovers of world football and all our viewers come into that category, the thought of a World Cup with Brazil, Argentina and Uruguay, and possibly another South American country, if either Paraguay or Colombia can see off Israel, it adds to the romance of the occasion. Profitable industry. Don and I are very glad to say.
Yes.
There's offside.
They really put a nice exhibition on at Wembley. I mean, some lovely little 1-2s and people like Valderrama. I mean, they would do well at World Cup level.
And the other thing about the emergence of another World Cup final is that the emerging stars as well.
Yes.
I think Ruben Sosa's name, outside the aficionados, shall we say, is not that well known, but he could be one to watch, and there'll be plenty of others. An ever-developing game and an ever-profitable industry. Don and I are very glad to say.
Yes.
There's offside against William Gonzalez.
They talk about world-class players, but world-class players only come out of successful teams. I mean, before England won the World Cup in '66, people said, yeah, well, he had world-class players and people like Moore and Peters and Geoff Hurst. But people didn't say that before he went into the World Cup in '66. They said it afterwards. And I think that's what really it is about. It's if they play well at world-class level and they're in a successful side, they become world-class players.
And for you, Don, have been involved as a player and as a coach at a World Cup. That must be the pinnacle.
Yes, that's right. Revellino and all those players. Now they've got players like Careca, Romario, Bebeto, Alameo. You know, those are going to be those players in a successful Brazilian team will be known as world-class players if they do it in Italy, and I think they will.
It's a mouth-watering prospect from all corners of the globe. If I can mix my shapes, they will be coming. The 24 best nations, we hope. The right ones get through, as Don was saying, and that's and the weeks are passing quickly. Those of us lucky enough to be selected to go in our various professions will be ticking off the days on the calendar. Ruben Paz possibly has got his mind on some forward planning there. It wasn't his best pass of the night. He's still on the field in some rather uncharted territory for him with 12 minutes left. He's normally been replaced at this stage. But Tabarez, the coach, it's almost as if he's allowing the players to stay on and take their bows for the work that they've done.
Yes. Well, there's no need for him to really sub in. I mean, if he does it, he'll be doing it for the sake of it. He'll be doing it perhaps for experience. And the two players who he's put on in general has always been the lad at the back, Correa, and then Bengochea.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always used those two anyway.
Gonzalez still hoping something might drop for him to gather a goal, as he did for Peru against Bolivia. But here come Uruguay again. They just need to, well, they don't need to, it would be nice for them to adorn the proceedings here with a third goal. But they're in a cruising mode at the moment. 2-0, relaxed. It wasn't always that way though tonight. Herrera, is the chance going to open up for him? It might come for Altamendi. There was some appealing for handball after voluntary block, surely. Well, we'll get a better impression from this angle. He turned his back.
Yep. Come on to his right. Yep. Come on to his right foot as well.
And there was no case for a penalty there. Might have struck him on the elbow as he turned round.
Ball to hand.
Exactly. So, will it be driven towards the tall figure of Mr. Ostolaza by Ruben Sosa? Well, he's got fed up with it as well. It's in the end goes that way, Tom.
They're still trying to get it to him, yeah. They played it short, but still trying to find him on the back post.
If it wasn't such a serious contest, you might think that there was a bet going here,
yes,
that he'd got to score the next goal. But he is a good scorer with a proven record from midfield in his club football with Nacional. But he just hasn't had a chance. Well, he had that one header, to be fair, in the first half from the free kick where Zaga made his series of saves. And it was a fairly close-range header too. And it went within the goalkeeper's compass.
Looks as though it's his ankle.
We're inside the final 10 minutes in Montevideo. Uruguay 2, Peru 0. Substitutes on. 9 men for Peru.
Well, it's going the way of the Bolivian game. It's virtually a copy.
So Guido gets some help.
Looks as though it's his ankle.
We're inside the final 10 minutes in Montevideo. Uruguay 2, Peru 0. Ruben Sosa, if you've just joined us, the hero of the hour when Uruguay needed a goal to break down some resolute Peruvian defending. He got it, followed it with a second, and it's his picture that will be on the front pages, not just the sports pages, of all the Uruguayan papers tomorrow morning.
I always think that when they play these games, they do so well, and you get somebody like Sosa. It's a super thing to have, and obviously he's a good player. But what it does, it alerts the rest of the world of his ability, and obviously he gets man for man marked when he goes to the World Cup. And perhaps he can't shine as well as he has in these games.
Was Correa who sliced away. Ostolaza. Bencochea. Ball left to right. Ostolaza, Bencochea. Ruben Sosa is in the centre this time. This is Ruben Paz. He's not quite as quick as the younger Ruben.
No, he can't get on the end of those 1-2s.
Oh, and if Alzamendi had made any contact with that, it would have rolled for Ruben Sosa. And we might have been celebrating a hat-trick. We might still. Herrera looks up, delivers. Ostolaza, Peru, hack it away. Gutierrez losing his balance and the ball. Five minutes. And the celebrations will soon begin in earnest in Montevideo and all over this country, where football is a way of life. And in times of economic difficulty, they look to their top players to lift the morale of the entire country. That's no exaggeration.
Yes, and I'm sure it does. Having been there, I mean, everybody just lives for the game. And if you get into a taxi, all the taxi driver does is keep talking about football everywhere you go.
Gonzalez and Pereira. Now Gonzalez was knocked down off the ball, and the referee, look how far he was off the play, and Peru could have had a free kick then. Pereira didn't need to come out of his area. He could have backpedaled and let the last outfield player just knock it back. There was no danger about Gonzalez outpacing them.
keep knocking it about where they are. They'll just keep giving it easy, giving it what's on, playing and running, get the crossing home. If they get into a position to deliver a final ball, do it. If not, they'll be patient and knock it about.
Off goes Gonzalez, and Pereira now. Gonzalez was knocked down off the ball, and the referee, look how far he was off the play. And Peru could have had a free kick then. Pereira didn't need to come out of his area. He could have backpedaled and let the last outfield player just knock it back. There was no danger about Gonzalez outpacing them. But maybe he's so caught up in this mood of joy in this Centenario Stadium that was built for a World Cup. Oh, and very nearly a little wrap across the knuckles at the last from Bazalar, who stole it undetected. And you've got to take your hat off to Peru, Don, that they haven't fallen apart. The first shot from Ruben Sosa that brought the crucial goal. This is Ruben Paz, by the way, with the latest chance. And then when that extraordinary opening for an equaliser was there for the taking, wasn't taken. So when the dust has settled and the drinks have been finished, when they get down to some hard-nosed thinking about it, there'll be one or two lessons. Correa. That's offside, and you have to think that really Uruguay got help on 3 occasions when the sending off took place, when the goalkeeper dived over the first shot from Ruben Sosa that brought the crucial goal. This is Ruben Paz, by the way, with the latest chance. And then when that extraordinary opening for an equaliser was there for the taking, wasn't taken. So when the dust has settled and the drinks have been finished, when they get down to some hard-nosed thinking about it, there'll be one or two lessons to have been learnt here, even in success.
Well, I mean, like you say, if the coach has a good look at things, he might say, well, we ain't doing too bad. We haven't done too bad, we're up against it. You know, perhaps this team can improve.
I was thinking from the Uruguayan viewpoint. They can be caught up in what's going to explode upon us any second now, with the final whistle and qualification, but it hasn't been a completely uninterrupted road of progress over the 90 minutes. We're into the final minute. If Bobby Robson comes to you and says, Don, what would you say about Uruguay after what you've seen? How would you sum it up?
I'd say a very tough team with some good attacking ability. Are not going to give anything away at the back. It will be a hard, difficult game. We'd have to tighten down that our right side, their left side. We wouldn't let them get in there as often as they've got in against the Peruvians.
And to be fair to Ruben Sosa, as they've done in most games that they've played in these qualifiers.
And it also, I mean, the Peruvians, although they haven't made a bundle of chances, they've made the odd chance that you think, well, you can get in there, you know, if you keep getting at them, keep taking the ball to them, you can get in.
The crowd are having their countdown now. And it's only going to be a short one, because the final whistle is very soon to be upon us. Indeed, there it is. Uruguay have qualified for the finals.